Alright, today we'll be talking about pre-World War One, and we're going to be exploring some of the tensions and whatnot before the start of the war and the beginning stages of the war, what all occurred and what is going on in Europe at this time. Now, to start with, we have to just go back to Prussia. Prussia was a territory of what is now Germany, and the Prussian Empire started expanding into all of the German states that were there at this time. They expanded and finally formed Germany, what we know now as Germany, the Germanic state, and within that they became a pretty powerful country at this point in Europe. France had, for most of the 1800s, tried to have Germany be a small state, a small country, because they knew if Germany ever got big, it'd be such a problem. But finally, after many battles and victories, Germany was able to be fully formed. uh, now we have a powerful German country that's been formed out of this from Prussia to now Germany. Another player that we have is Austria-Hungary. Austria-Hungary is a massive territory owning modern-day Czechoslovakia, um, Austria, and most of the Baltic territory at this time. um, but there's a lot of tension there. So for a lot of Austria-Hungary's history, even to their deformation, there was a lot of cultural tensions there between the ethnicities in Austria-Hungary. There was never a sense of a unity of the cultures there. This would cause later problems like the Serbian Revolution, which would break away from Austria-Hungary to form that independent nation of Serbia. Um, so you also have um, the Ottoman Empire, which had been existed for a pretty long time at this point, but it was finally decaying because over time the Ottoman Empire was declining in power and whatnot through a variety of different things, loss of territory, um, the influence and the structures there were falling apart. They called it the sixth man of Europe because of that. So by the time we get to 1914, the it's been shaped up in the way of the Ottoman Empire, Germany, Austria-Hungary. They would form the Central Powers. Now, it's crucial to understand that why this whole formation of this alliances was. For Austria-Hungary, they had made an alliance with Germany prior to World War One, an alliance to keep each other protected. Well, as that goes, when Franz Ferdinand, the Prince of the the Emperor of Austria, died through assassination, when Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia, which caused everybody to get involved, that being the Entente, the Triple Entente. We'll talk about that in a minute. Um, this caused a radical. This caused Austria-Hungary to call Germany in. Well, Germany had made that alliance, so they obliged by it and was going to go with that alliance. So, and for the Ottoman Empire, it was their opportunity to expand their empire. So they thought it would be a good opportunity for it. So we have the formation of Germany, Austria-Hungary, and the Ottoman Empire to form the Central Powers. Now, the flip side to that, we'll talk about France and Britain and Russia. Um, France had made the alliance to stand by them, and when the war was declared, see if France had tried over and over to try to resist Germany from expanding because they knew if Germany had been big enough that it would cause conflicts there, and they would become a major issue. So France had tried over the 1800s to try to keep Germany in check, of course failing in that. They had famously Napoleon III, which was the great. He was the relative of Napoleon Bonaparte. I believe he was his great grandson, if I'm right, or nephew, one of those. Um, he had famously tried to go into Germany, expand, and lost the war there. He tried to proclaim himself emperor, and it failed miserably. But after those battles, Germany started expanding way more. So now we have France, who had become allied with Great Britain, and Russia to form the Triple Entente. Russia was led by Tsar Nicholas II and the royal family there. Tsar Nicholas has had a lot of troubles with Russia, um, mainly with poverty of the peasants and whatnot in that time. So there's a lot of tensions going on right there. In the beginning of the war, a lot of the countries prepared to fortify and whatnot, and so we um, see that the early stages of it, and even throughout World War One, you don't really see that aggressive expansionism or anything like that. It's a lot different by the time we get to World War Two, with how warfare is conducted and so on and so forth. But right now, it's a trench. We see the trench warfare that is most commonly referred to during World War One. So they declare, and they wound up being an absolute Germany, Austria-Hungary Ottoman Empire began after the assassination of Franz Ferdinand by Serbian nationalists. Um, he was he believed in the identity of the Serbian people, and he was a staunch nationalist who decided to assassinate Franz Ferdinand. Um, so we have so many elements in play there. So in the beginning stages of the war, there wasn't as much into it. Germany had gotten pretty far into Russia as the war went on, early to mid part of it during this time, and that would cause issues later on with the formation of the Soviet Union and whatnot towards the middle of the war. But for the early stages, it was very hard to see where it was really hard for them to get anywhere because of the resources and everything like that. Most commonly, just the early stages has a lot to do with preparation. For a lot of militaries, when a war is declared, there's a mobilization phase. So there was a lot riding on that mobilization to get many of the men ready, and so on and so forth, and to prepare them for war. A lot of young men, they're 18, 17, 16. There's a lot of ages at that time of men enlisting and so on and so forth, and a lot of them think of the grandeurs of what war would be during that time, because in 1914 the war just began, so a lot of men enlisted thinking of pride and nationality of their country. You kind of see a shift of that, where it's not just all glory, it's not all great. A lot of these men return absolutely traumatized for the rest of their life, and forever changed by it. This would cause problems, especially with Germany after the war, even because a lot of those men returned with that trauma and resentment that would come out of this. So, in understanding the key things in the beginning of the war, you have to understand nationalism. The nationalism during that time, it was extremely nationalistic time period at this point, and a lot of countries were very proud of it, to a point of trying to want to expand and try to get territory. I mean, in the 1800s, especially in the early 1900s, there's a lot of colonialism in Africa, trying to get resources, trying to get imperial um, prestige, and trying to be the biggest power at this time. Great Britain at that time had literally expanded all over from Europe to Asia with their colonies in India. Then you see their colonies in Africa. Germany had even for a little had some colonies at that point. Um, Most notably, they had a colony in Africa and one in China for a little bit during this time. So colonialism was very big at this point, and because the resources it brought to these nations was immense. At this point, in the beginning stages of World War I, the United States wasn't involved in it. It had a policy of neutrality on the matter, so the United States was not wanting to be involved in this early stages. Um, this they would later be involved through different things, but that's on the middle stage and then the end of the war. So in this beginning stage, we're seeing a lot of interest in militarism. You have this desire for expansionism, and that's not just Germany or Austria. That's all around Europe, and even in Americas. The desire to expand territory, to get bigger, to immense more military. So you really see that during this time. One of the key figures during this time for the formation of Prussia. You see there was a lot of key figures that were really important in the formation of Germany during this time. I'm blanking right. I'm trying to figure out real quick one of them that I'm thinking about. So but during this time, though, Germany had William II, who had become the heir to the throne. William II was very bold. He wanted to just go ahead and expand territory. He was a very proud Prussian and proud German, and he was the leader during this time. His son William III never got to succeed in Germany because, of course, Germany fell. But during this time, Germany had really prided itself on its military and its power, and because of the resources that they were getting, because of the industry and whatnot, Germany was a very powerful country. I mean, it wasn't to be taken lightly. Austria-Hungary had a very good military, a very powerful military too, but the problems they were having was internal, that was constant. So they had constant issues going on in Austria-Hungary during this time. There's a lot of unrest and there's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of problems going on in Austria-Hungary, and those problems just fester worse and worse and worse until they finally, after the war is absolutely decimated. But in the earlier stages, they're trying to keep it all together. It's a powder keg waiting to blow up at this point. And again, it goes back to the Ottoman Empire. The Sultan and his power was becoming less and less wane. So you're really seeing in the beginning stages of these great powers transitioning into a new era, and that goes along with how everything was perceived as far as when you see the militaries, how they are used. They're using outdated tactics for more modern warfare for that time, and that's results in a lot of casualties and a lot of issues, and that only gets exacerbated as the war goes on. As far as Germany goes and whatnot, and France and all this, the utter brutality of trench warfare was horrendous for anybody, and you see in the early stages of them trying to prepare for that. And again, a lot of people had no idea how destructive this war was going to be through all this. So you're seeing a lot of things happen within such a short amount of time, and it's going to change the fate of Europe as we know it during this time. So for the key things to remember, the formation of the Central Powers, that's Germany, Austria-Hungary, Ottoman Empire. The Triple Entente is made of England, France, and Russia during this point.